now, coming to you live from atop the Lavender Town Radio Tower, it's the one, the only, PoGo Podcast.
It's PoGo! PoGo! It's PoGo! PoGo! Pokemon Underground Champions League, oh yeah! PoGo! PoGo!
Welcome to another episode of the PoGo Podcast. I am your host, Trainer Thatch, here today with my wonderful co-host. We've got the one and only R Sigma.
Howdy.
And we've got Sharkfinnagen.
Hello.
And welcome to the PoGo Podcast. PoGo, of course, standing for the Pokemon Underground Champions League, a nonsensical name we came up with in 2007. We are the longest running Pokemon podcast, and we talk everything Pokemon, from the trading card game to the video game to everything in between. And boy, do we have another episode for you today. But I just wanted to check up with you guys. What have you been up to this week? Like, what have you guys been doing?
Well, I tried to do the global challenge, and I realized very quickly I forgot to put Hydro Pump on my Kyogre. Oh.
No bueno.
And I didn't practice with the team much, so that didn't turn out well. So.
I did not. I used to do the global challenges, but I just can't do it anymore, you know? There's just no way.
It's not like they give you a shiny Tapu Koko or anything.
Yeah, exactly. The rewards just aren't worth it, in my experience, or like.
Oh no, the rewards are trash. Like
they're just garbage.
It's like a gold bottle cap and a ability patch. It's like
They're just like, hey, do you want this thing you can get in regular gameplay? Because that's the biggest thing. Like, it's just like, hey, this is something you can get in regular gameplay. So who cares?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little underwhelming. They upped the number to 4 this year for like global challenges, and yet somehow we didn't get. So I thought, hey, we have 4 legends. Maybe we'll get them this year. We didn't.
No, there's just no way. Like it's just like, man, I wish they would just do better. I don't know.
I mean, in the past they did the shiny Tapus and the shiny Galarian birds. So like, it was like the perfect time to do it. And I mean, I'd prefer them in raids if I'm going to be honest.
It could like, probably still happen because I think there's like next year to still go in Scarlet and Violet. I mean, probably what's going to happen is Pokemon Zeta A is going to come out this summer, which is fine.
Yeah, that's what I expect.
I realistically don't believe that we're going to get Gen 10 this year.
No.
No, not this year. Not at all.
No, because Switch 2 is going to come out this year too, which makes me feel like we're not getting it in general. There might be a chance where we get like, the internet says this. I don't know if I agree with it, but I mean, there's been discussions about like a black and white remake by Ilka in the same vein as like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which is fine. And
I would be okay with it, but it's really weird, right?
Yeah. I mean, I also am not a fan of like a black and white remake without some kind of black and white 2 concession.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Right.
Yeah. And we learned the hard way that BDSP does not want the pure diamond pearl treatment. It wanted the platinum. We learned this the hard way.
That's not even what I'm going for here, Shark. I just think that part of the Gen 5 experience is that you need black and white 2 there to kind of round out and complete the circle.
Oh.
I think you could do a vanilla black and white remake and it's going to be better than BDSP, in all honesty, because Diamond and Pearl base were garbage.
I agree there because you're going to get the quality of life, yeah.
The issue was the source.
Yeah.
The issue was just having the Pokemon, because the reason why Black and White did so poorly was because they didn't have any of the main Pokemon up until very post game.
Yeah, I think the consensus is a lot different now. And I mean, I think it has to do with my theory that's long running, where a Pokemon takes time to kind of cook in people's brains, right? To make sure that it's a Pokemon. And what really aids in that process is that there are actual Pokemon surrounding it in that generation that is introduced. Mm-hmm. And Black and White didn't have that, obviously. So it was kind of a juxtaposition, like, oh, hey, here's Pokemon, but they're not the same Pokemon. I also don't think it helps that they try to do a soft reboot, and instead of trying to do new creative ideas, they click copy paste on a lot of the new designs themselves. And 2, I think they took out too much inspiration from Gen 1. Like, I think Gigalith and Conkeldurr are both very big examples of that, and to a lesser extent even Seismitoad.
Seismitoad's the one I always think of because
it's just Poliwrath.
Like mono rock, mono fighting, that worked out, I thought. I think Conkeldurr's a fine design. I think Gigalith's a great design. Seismitoad, it's like, okay, you're just Poliwag again. Like, at least.
No, it's exactly what it is, because like Timpole just looks like Poliwag.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Except without Poliwhirl.
I actually think the reverse. I like Seismitoad.
So I think as like a product of the time, during that time in the zeitgeist, black and white fails. But I think in a world that we live in now where the Gen 5 Pokemon are pretty regularly inserted into Pokedexes and stuff like that, I think if you did a remake, it would be far more successful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would just be much better.
It's weird because, one, we're focusing on Kalos this year already, so it's weird to split the focus on Unova as well.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like if it came last year, maybe it would work, but this year,
I think it could work around the Christmas time frame. Granted, I don't think they'll do that because the Switch 2 was announced, so the Switch 2 is coming out by Christmas this year, right? So
I mean, it's probably coming out this summer at some point.
Summer or September.
Summer to early fall, something like that.
To September.
Yeah.
Something to September, I think. September, October at the latest. Switch 2 is obviously coming out, but Pokemon has historically never released on a launch console in its first year. And I don't think that will change here. I don't think they're going to be like, oh man, let's sell a Pokemon game on the Switch 2.
Let's Go?
No, Let's Go came out in 2019. The Switch came out in 2017.
2 years later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or 2018. It came out in 2018.
Yeah.
So it was like a year and a
So
half
a year later.
Yeah, Switch was 17. Okay, yeah.
Literally, they said for Let's Go, they weren't planning on putting a game on the Switch because they weren't certain that the Switch was going to be successful.
Fair assessment after Wii U.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair. But we'll say this, though. There already are on the network, and it is, if you were to have an independent team like Ilka, you could theoretically sneak into Nova.
Oh, yeah, you could sneak it in.
Or any sort of game, any sort of remake, straight onto the Switch 2.
I think what they do if Ilka does come out with a game this year, what it does is it is a Switch game, not a Switch 2 game, because the Switch 2 is confirmed to be backwards compatible.
Oh, yeah, I would expect it to be like a carryover game for the people who keep the Switch 1 and aren't upgrading.
Yeah, it's going to be a game that it's going to be marketed as being playable on Switch 2, but it's a Switch. It will be playable on this regular Switch as well.
But even then, I don't think it'll happen. I don't think it's a 2-game year.
No. I think it's a very bold prediction if you think that both will come out this year.
Especially if you think Gen 10's coming up next year. Like,
I say that over Gen 10. Like, I think you'd get a Gen 5 remake before you get Gen 10 this year.
Mm-hmm.
That is my remake. That is my belief.
And even then, I would think you'd want like an XY remake to go with Kalos, or a Heart Gold Soul Silver remake, because I want that.
I don't think that's going to happen. And like much for the same reason as like a lot of things in our lives, I genuinely believe the Pokemon company is disconnected from what actually makes them successful. Like, I genuinely believe this. I believe the Pokemon company doesn't know what makes them a successful franchise.
I think they understand it sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. I think there's pieces, but I don't think they truly understand. Like, I think the Pokemon company and a lot of the people that work for them are fans. And I think those people do, I want to say that they do actually talk to the company and try to say, hey, this is what works, right? This is what's worked for us. And I don't know that entirely the leadership agrees with that. And sometimes that's like well warranted, because maybe leadership has a much greater idea, a much grander idea. Mm-hmm. But I want to say that they would benefit from taking that at least more often than they do now. Right. I think what makes Pokemon successful a lot of the times is a little bit of fan pandering, but also just kind of keeping the community rolling in that sense. So yeah, no, I think the fact that an XY remake that doesn't exist at the same time as Legends Z to A is kind of a disappointment.
Like, yeah, that's what I would have expected for last year, right? It's like just a simple XY remake.
I genuinely do say that BDSP is what helped Legends Arceus be as successful as it was, but maybe they have data that says otherwise. Personally, I, anecdotally, which is not a fact of any kind, believe that having BDSP enhanced my Legends Arceus experience. And because it reminded me of all the locations and whatnot. Granted, Z to A only takes place in Lumia City, so maybe who cares, right? Maybe I don't need to see Kalos remakes. So I do think Kalos remakes would help, but at the same time, maybe they've got some new plan, and I don't want to tell them that they're wrong.
I will withhold my judgments until we actually see what Z to A is about. Like actual gameplay and what their plans are with it, because who knows?
I agree. I agree. Okay, sorry, Shark. We're talking about you, but we went ahead and went on this tailspin. So it's been a pretty good time. So we're going to go ahead and kick it on over to our news, where we're going to cue that epic music. So we will catch you over at the news.
Live from the Lavender Town Radio Tower. This just in.
Welcome to the news. In the news, we've got a few things. First of all, we're going to go ahead and go to Pokemon Unite. In Pokemon Unite, Suicune is a new legend joining the roster, which is exciting, I guess. I don't know. I mean, somebody who listens to the show who really likes Suicune is very happy right now. That is not me.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are like 3 Pokken players who are excited to play as their main again on something.
Pokken. Does anybody remember that
Suicune
game?
was in Pokken?
Yeah, it
Suicune was like one of the first things they showed off. That was like, oh, sweet.
Oh, shit, that's right. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Suicune was in Pokken. Yeah, it's nuts. Isn't that weird to think about?
I forget that game.
Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, they're not all 2-legged human-like Pokemon punching each other.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Suicune too.
There's a Suicune. Yeah. They did a good job on that. So yeah, that's interesting. Everybody's happy.
Mm-hmm.
If you are an animation fan and you're just like, man, I hope there's a new Pokemon animation on Pokemon Day. Well, I guess you're in luck. There's an animation called Dragonite and the Postman, and that will premiere on Pokemon Day. Pokemon Day is like a wild day. I'm actually half tempted to take it off. I don't know if I'm going to do it yet or not.
It might be worth it.
It is a Thursday, and I could always just use a random Thursday off. So I will think about it.
I mean, we know there's an actual announcement this time, right? We know there's going to be more Z to A information.
There has to be, right? Z to A has to have more info.
Has to be.
I would be shocked if there wasn't more Z to A information on Pokemon Day.
I would be shocked as well. I would be concerned for the health of the company if there was not more Z to A information.
Exactly.
I do think they'll do Z to A info. I do think they will probably hint at what's after Z to A as well.
I could see a little hint.
Yeah, there's probably going to be a hint because I don't think they're like, I expect Z to A to come out this summer, but I don't expect Z to A to, I don't expect that to ride us the whole year out, right? Mm-hmm. I expect it to be like the first half of the year, here's Z to A, and I don't expect radio silence after that. I expect it to be like, hey, there's a new game coming out in like a year and a half.
See, what could be interesting is if they saved that announcement for Worlds, which I'm shocked there was nothing about Z to A at Worlds, but I think that would be a cool announcement for post Worlds, right?
I think the fact that there's no announcement for Z to A at Worlds is further indication that Z to A isn't going to be a competitive title, right?
I agree.
I think it's just going to be Scarlet and Violet for another year and a half or whatever it is.
See,
and
the crazy,
we'll get
the crazy thing they could do. The crazy thing they could do is go into Scarlet and Violet and add Megas after Z to A comes out.
Oh my god!
No one would expect it.
No one would expect it because it shouldn't happen. Like, let's be honest, it shouldn't happen.
I think adding retroactive compatibility to the main game would be more interesting than waiting for the next set of games. But maybe that's just
I don't. No. I agree with you that that's more exciting. I just don't think Pokemon will ever do it.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll ever do it either, but maybe if Gen 10 is not next year, they could.
But Gen 10
the issue is if you did
year.
add Megas in, you're missing some Megas out of in Scarlet Violet. That's the issue. If you did do it, you're gonna leave things like Mega Sharpedo, Mega Camerupt to think of
yes.
Aggron's missing too, right? Aggron's missing.
But aren't they all like bad?
no Aggron.
I don't care if they're bad. I care that they're missing. Like
That's more my point. And Sharpedo, hello.
Like we'll wrap this
Gotta
into
rep my
today's
boy.
topic. We'll wrap this into today's topic a little bit as
Okay.
well. But I have some thoughts.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
You know,
Alakazam.
2019 Thatch is going to show up again, and everybody's going to be like, "Why am I listening to this show?" Also, in the anime news, since we're talking about anime, new episodes are dropping on Netflix. So go ahead and take a look as the cast starts taking on Paldean gym leaders. But with that, we're going to shift gears to Shark, and Shark is going to talk to us about some sales data.
Yes. So we've got some sales numbers for Scarlet Violet for their, the quarterly update. Scarlet Violet sold 690,000 in the last quarter, which puts its grand total at 26.38 million. Swish is still selling. They sold 160k units, which has put them at 26.6. So they're like
right above Scarlet and Violet.
20.
Right above.
They're like neck and neck now. So there's actually a chance before Z to A that Scarlet Violet will pass Swish, which would basically, I think, if I remember right, it's just the base games that are above it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
it's
do they
just
count? So
red, blue, yellow, right?
Red, blue, green, yellow. Yellow. I don't know if yellow yellow doesn't get swapped into.
Yellow doesn't count in it. Okay.
No.
So it's
Yellow
just
gets
red,
its
blue,
own-
green
Yeah, I'm very curious how that sales figure works out.
with Virtual Console, maybe.
Well, for the original, like I don't know if that includes Virtual Console, which I don't think it does.
I don't think it does either.
But the problem is, like, it's also like a really weird release as well. Like, are they counting US blue alongside like Japanese blue and green and red? Because Japanese blue is different than Japanese red and green drastically.
Well,
right?
to be fair, I don't know if they sold Japanese blue because it was like a magazine promotion, wasn't it?
No, I think they did sell Japanese blue. I think there was like early releases from the magazine.
Okay.
But I believe they sold it.
Yeah.
I thought it was through a
eventually.
magazine that one happened.
We are asking real questions that I don't know the answer to.
I have some-ish real answer here because
Okay.
Joe Merrick had, he's the one who keeps track of a lot of the sales data for Pokemon games specifically. His one of the lists that I found, this was a year ago, but I mean, all the old games are not changing anyway, mind you. It is the virtual consoles are not factored in just because their sales numbers have never been made public outside of a nebulous.
Man, they did so well
million.
though. They did so well. There's no way they didn't do well.
I assume they did well enough, but red, green, blue sold 31,380,000. So,
But is that like
5 million
red?
ahead.
I'm still wondering how that combines like the US versions with the Japanese versions. Those are much different than like, I don't know. It's much different than like Japanese gold versus US gold, right? Like,
yeah.
like the Japanese and US versions were very similar there, where the release of red, blue, green in Japan was much more, hey, here's red and blue, or here's red and green, and now here's blue, which is a much better version, versus in the US where it goes, hey, here's red and blue, which were two different games, right?
I mean, wasn't blue mostly
I
just like bug fixes anyway?
It was,
With slightly different
Pokemon. The Pokemon Blue
availability was different.
The Pokemon Blue in Japan is the Pokemon Red and Blue we got in the US.
Yeah. Like they got more of a prototype version with their red and green.
Yeah, so I just don't know. I'm very curious what like the Japanese blue sales were compared to the Japanese red and green sales.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be curious if they could. If that exists, we'd have to dig deeper in that.
I need
but
that
my
data.
assumption is it's all of them.
I mean, the issue is that data's like 30 years
it's
old.
up to Yellow, and Yellow it's its own 14 million
correct.
for some reason.
You are correct. But yeah,
Who knows?
okay, let's switch gears.
But
And Shark, I need you to tell me
That's-
something about Pokemon Go because honestly, I don't care.
yeah, speaking about pairs and buddies, we got a nice budding buddies event for Valentine's Day where you get a lot of the the
some
pairs
good
like
bonuses.
Volbeat, Lumise. And we get one of the one of the missing Pokemon that is definitely very much associated with Valentine's Day, Delmise.
Delmise is the best Valentine's Day Pokemon.
Yeah.
Anytime I think
hook
of
you in.
Valentine's Day in Pokemon, I always think of Delmise.
You think of that seaweed and the anchor's relationship.
I was just like, man, what about an anchor?
Exactly.
Inseparable.
What, inseparable.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, man, when I think about my relationship with my wife, I think about an anchor dressed in seaweed. That's not a steel type.
Yeah. Gonna hook you in, keep you tight, nice and tight.
It's a ghost that haunts me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel. Yep. I don't know how you guys could feel any other way.
Yeah. But you get some boosted shiny odds for Diglett and Dunsparce.
Yeah.
And you also get Slowpoke's Shelter, Cutiefly, and Fomantis. Good.
It's just like, hey,
and
and I guess Enamorus is in raids, so that's something.
Oh, Enamorus is in raids, which actually makes sense.
Yeah, regular
That's
raids
the
this time. Thanks.
Oh, yeah,
This
it is
the
regular
only-
raids. It's actually starting up now.
It's the only thing I can think of that's like, yeah, this is normal. This makes sense.
No, that's a perfect choice for it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yep.
oh boy.
And as well, this upcoming Saturday, you'll have the Hoopa Unbound raid day.
Yay.
Yay, more chances for him. He's not shiny. People are upset. Oh, well.
Everybody's always upset. Let's be honest. Everybody's always upset.
I mean, it's Pokemon.
Yeah.
Go. They probably did something to deserve it. This one's more reasonable.
Yeah.
They don't release shinies except for like Meltan, but
Mhm.
people like to think they did because like shiny Mew wasn't super available. Shiny Jirachi wasn't super available.
You're right. You're right.
Like it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Shiny-
but
Oh, wait. Shiny Manaphy wasn't super available. Oh, wait, they haven't even released Manaphy yet.
yeah, speaking of heart-themed Pokemon that aren't in the
Keep going.
game.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
let's kick it on over to the TCG where things are much more exciting.
Welcome to TCG Corner. First up on today's
Yay.
docket, we have the illustration contest winning cards are finally
Yeah.
going to be available, which I'm sure Thatch is super happy about because there is a Feraligatr among them.
There is a Feraligatr. It's not good, but it's a Feraligatr.
I don't think they're playable either, so it doesn't matter.
No, they're just
perfectly-
promos. They're just promos.
They are just for collectors. But there's Pikachu, Feraligatr, and Toxtricity EX. There's also a Sylveon promo that will be available, and that's all on Pokemon Day if you go to your local league, apparently.
Mm.
And then
Oh man, that's not happening.
there's going to be a code starting, I believe, February 21st that you can use on Pokemon Center that gets you the cards with an order too.
It does look like GameStop and Best Buy will also.
Yeah, I was
do
going to
that.
say there are also retailers. It's usually GameStop and Best Buy. They have the flying EV too if you want.
Yeah.
For, video games.
Yeah, I saw that. It's at your local game store in the U.S., Canada,
Yeah, it doesn't
Australia,
matter.
New Zealand.
It's
That's
not an
it.
exciting giveaway. We mentioned it once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We never need to talk about it again. It's nothing special. It's not shiny or
Yeah.
anything. It's just a flying
The only
EV.
thing, it does have an OT that says Pokemon Day 25, and the ID is 250227 at level 25. Dot.
Maybe they're replacing Pikachu this Pokemon Day. Who knows?
No.
I hear the anime arc's about to end in Japan. They're gonna get rid of Captain Pikachu for Captain.
I do
Eevee.
wonder
It's
what they're
fine.
gonna do after this. Like, I wonder.
They're
if,
at like a
when the
bit.
Next,
I'm wondering if they lose, but that's beside the point.
I am wondering if I'm wondering if they're gonna keep going with Liko after like 3 or 4 years, or if it's gonna be like Yu-Gi-Oh and we just get like a new protagonist.
I'm very curious. I mean, it's not even a great spot to change protagonists because we're still only halfway to the next gen. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I
Yeah.
just wonder if that's gonna happen. It would feel bad because I think, I don't know. Like, we're so used to protagonists lasting 20 years.
Right.
I
I would. So there were rumors that maybe they were going to do a time jump at one point, but I think I don't know if that's going to happen either. So we'll see.
Yeah, what I really want, because the anime has hinted at this too with Liko, I would really love to see, like some kind of like Ash crossover, because it's very clear that they're in the same universe to some extent.
Mhm.
And I would love to just be like, oh man, they see Ash. Like, even if it's what I really think they should have done when they started off this season. Granted, the way they started off is fine, but what I would have really appreciated as a longtime Pokemon fan, I would have really appreciated if they kicked it off with, like the Nidorino Gengar fight they did in episode 1 of the original anime.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have been they would have shown a battle being watched on TV.
What if they just showed Ash accepting the trophy on a TV in the background?
That would have been good too.
See,
or
that would have
just
been great.
Ash in the middle of a battle, right? And then Lico's watching it, and then we move on to Lico's story. I would have liked that.
Like Lico's at home eating breakfast, and there's a TV in the background with Ash winning a trophy or something.
I don't think we're going to see them move on though anyway, because they've made all 3 protagonists evolve their starters to the middle stage. I think we're going to get to the point where they all evolve to like the final
that's
stage.
where I feel like they're going to hit the final
That's where
stage,
we're
and they
at.
have to have a story arc with that too. So
yeah, so that's obviously happening, and I think it would be really cool to see like Lico, Roy, and Dot like try to do like a 3v1 against Ash or something in like the closing scenes, kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! GX.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
Where where Yugi fights Jaden. Like that's what we want. That's what we need. That's what we deserve.
Exactly.
Is Ash Ketchum coming?
Oh, yeah.
Because they did claim that Ash's story isn't like done. Like they'll revisit it occasionally. And we haven't really seen like a short with that yet. And I'm kind of hoping we get some kind of Ash content in the near future.
Pokemon Day? ...
maybe
Probably
we'll get
not
a
this
new movie.
Pokemon Day.
Who knows?
A new movie would be awesome. Like if they announced that on Pokemon Day, I would be into it. Or even like, man, they've been talking about live action Pokemon for so long. It'd be so cool to see
From
live action.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not on Netflix. Maybe on like a streaming service that's like reasonable and good.
That's fair.
Dropout TV.
All right.
That's what I'm hoping. Okay, but continue with the.
All right,
with the,
all right. We got
this,
a couple more stories.
Yeah.
So, Pheasantipity was not reprinted in Prismatic Evolutions. However,
No. Bummer.
since every deck only needs one, I assumed it was going to be in a League Battle deck, and we have confirmation
You're right.
that we are getting a Dragapult League Battle deck at the end of April, and it does in
Exciting.
fact have the one Pheasantipity that everyone needs.
Yes.
They made some interesting choices with it. Like there are 4 Dragapult EXs, which I don't think any deck runs. And
No.
they have Unfair Stamp instead of Sparkling Crystal, which also odd choice. But
Choice,
Sparkling Crystal was in Prismatic Evolutions and is like $1 right now. So it's probably fine. You need to
It'll be
upgrade
okay.
the deck a little bit, but it's still good.
I don't know what's in Prismatic Evolutions because I never got to
No
open
one has.
it.
They don't exist. All right. And then lastly, Japan has announced their next set, which is Heatwave Arena, and it will focus on 4 more trainers: Cynthia, Misty, Arvin, and Ethan. If you don't know who Ethan is, if you do not know who Ethan is,
I am the most excited for Ethan, which is something because like everybody's just like, oh man, who's Ethan? And Thatch is just like, I know who this is. And I want this now. Get this in my deck now.
I've seen many people be like, "Who's Ethan?"
I know who Ethan is.
like,
I
how
know
do people
who he
not
is,
know Ethan?
and he's my best friend. Okay, protagonist
I think
of Gold
I
and
played
Silver.
too much Gen 2.
Absolutely, that's
Too
who I
much.
need.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Ethan's cards are fire types. He has a Kulava that searches his supporter card. His supporter card
All for
finds
it.
fire energy and Ethan Pokemon.
I don't care if this is a good or bad deck. I'm playing it.
Yeah. He has a Mag Cargo because, obviously. He has a Ho-Oh that accelerates energy and a Pichu that beats up Badoo. And then there's Misty cards that are Psyduck that goes to the top of the deck, and Gyarados that does damage for revealing the top 7 cards of your deck and then seeing how many Misty Pokemon are there, or Misty cards are there. I think it's Pokemon.
Interesting. I'm really excited for these trainer sets. The problem is so is the rest of the world.
So they're fun because they're not super power creepy.
I mean, if people don't know who Ethan is, then maybe you get that one.
I am playing
well,
Ethan so hard. Like that is the deck I am playing. I don't care what anybody says. I'm playing Ethan.
Part of the issue is that our set with that might be the Team Rocket ones too.
Oh no, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. Don't say that.
Also, it probably has to have Steven and Marnie because they're not in our first set. So I don't know. It's weird because I don't know where Team Rocket fits into this for us, right? Because we know the Team Rocket set exists.
Yeah.
But I don't think this is with them. So it's
do
weird.
30 damage and draw a card. Oh my gosh, this Pichu's amazing.
It was created to kill Badu, and I love it.
I want this Pichu. I want this. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The art is amazing. Oh my gosh. I can't get over it.
No, it's a very synergistic deck, and Pichu's just there.
I wish it
Kill
were
Badu.
Pichu, but I'll take it. It's cute.
No, spiky ear
good
Pichu
one.
is an anomaly that everybody should forget existed. Okay?
Fair.
All right. So, for some Puckle news, first of all, Puckle's Badge Bonanza is this month going to be OU. You need to either do 25 battles for silver and then hit 1,500 on the ladder for gold, or alternatively, you can join the Pokemon, the Puckle tournament, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. You're the two proper people to do this, actually. And if you compete in it, you get silver. If you get into the top cut, you get gold. So please come to the Discord, hang out, pucklediscord.com. Make sure you do the HTTPS. A lot of people have messaged me that they can't get into the Discord because of that reason. Just click HTTPS and make sure it's not HTTP. There's a certificate issue there. It's weird. I'm working on it. I promise.
Yeah.
And if you like our trivia segment, you can always go to our Puckle Classic Poke Quiz feed, which is also online, and you can actually check it out and just catch the quiz segments from the old shows. We just got there, so yay! And 10 years ago this week, the Slowpoke stuff came out. Yay! Probably not. I just didn't put the picture.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened 10 years ago. It turns out
10 years ago was 2015, which was
that
like
was before they did
year.
Pokemon Day. That was before they did Pokemon Day.
That was the
became
year
a big
before
thing
they
in
did Pokemon
2016,
Day. It was the last year that there wasn't any new mainline game.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It was a dead
2015 was a dead year.
time. I think if you really want to know what they did, they announced the Johto starters for Pokemon Bank.
Yep.
For Pokemon Day.
you're
They were
right.
coming out on Pokemon Day, and they announced
You are
them
absolutely correct.
10
You
years
could
ago.
get-
It was not exciting. It was
Nope.
not in the news.
All right. Well, with that, guys, we're going to kick it on over to Puckle's Poke Quiz. We're going to quiz your co-host on their insane Pokemon knowledge. We're going to catch you on the flip-flop.
Oh hi, and welcome to the Poke Quiz, the part of the show where we quiz our co-hosts on their insane Pokemon knowledge. I'm Mark from the Dunsparce Gang, here to explain the rules. Our fabulous co-hosts will work as a team to answer 5 Pokemon-themed trivia questions that fans have submitted on the Discord server. Each question is worth 1 point, with Pokedex and multiple answer questions worth more, for a total of 7 points. The host can use a free hint at any time. If they get all the answers correct and do not use the hint, they can cash it in for an 8th point.
Welcome to our Poke Quiz. Thank you for that introduction. We are going to go ahead and jump right on in. Our first question this week is going to come to you from, if I can find my mouse, Smeargle19. Smeargle19 wants to know from you guys, what Generation 2 Generation 1 Pokemon were unable to damage Steel-type Pokemon outside of Struggle until Generation 4?
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, this is a fun
Interesting
question. I thought that was an interesting question.
So my first thought is Weedle and Kakuna. But
That
because I think they only got Poison
that's-
Sting.
I think you're right. I don't think
My
they
first
got-
thought was Weedle, and then I'm like, wait, Kakuna's also this applies to.
It's basically it has to be
It has to be something that only gets a poison
type.
move, right?
Yeah, and it's not Arbok line because they get wrap.
Or Bite,
It's
I'm
not
sure.
Wheezing because they can self-destruct.
Mm-hmm.
Muck can also self-destruct. No, actually no. What does it do? Oh, it has Pound.
It gets there somewhere. Like anything that
Yeah.
learns moves,
is-
I feel like can get a normal move on there somewhere.
Yeah,
It's not a good move, but it is a move.
Exactly. Trying to think
So
of
I'm-
any other weird poison. I don't think there's any other good mono.
But I don't think once you get to Gen 4, I believe they can get Bug Bite via a move tutor or something.
Or level
So-
no, it's like level 15 as a Weedle or
Something
as a
like that,
Caterpie.
yeah.
Both of them get that.
But that's what changes in Gen 4.
Yep. Yep. So Weedle Kakuna.
Weedle Kakuna is correct. That is the answer. So thank you for that. You guys are 1 for 1. Our first question this week, or next question this week, is going to come to you from Stellar Soul. What's the only Pokemon to get the ability Ice Body that's not an Ice type?
Ooh.
Ice
That would mean I have to know what what Pokemon have Ice Body.
That would be like Lapras. That would be like Spheal and Walrein. That would be.
Those are all Ice types, Shark.
Yeah.
I know. They happen to be all Ice types.
Who hangs out in Ice type areas that's not an Ice type?
Exactly. That's the
Or maybe
question.
who becomes an Ice type that's not an Ice type?
There's only one.
That actually
Pokemon.
makes more sense.
That would make more sense, yes. That's a good question.
Cold.
That's a good
Oh.
Turns into an icicle when they grow up.
question. Sigma's figured it out. Sigma's figured it out.
Is Spheal an Ice type, Shark?
You know, I thought he was an ice type, but
Or-
maybe I'm wrong.
Seal isn't. I know Seal evolves into a ice water type. I don't know if it gets Ice Body though.
Wait,
But you said-
Seal. No, Seal. No, I think it's Seal, not Spheal. I think.
What
unless I'm
a
really,
pedantic
like, maybe I'm-
argument. Then we have
They are different Pokemon, okay?
Seal and Spheal are different Pokemon.
Yeah.
One of them's at the bottom of the screen right now.
But I
On the
thought
video
it was
version
ice
on
type.
patreon.com
Maybe
slash
I'm
Puckle
wrong.
Podcast.
Because I don't
I mean,
like. I
if
know
you're
Seal
confident it's an ice type, I'm
is
just
thick
like,
fat
like,
and hydration, right? Like that's what Seal's abilities are. I don't think it has Ice Body. I don't know that for sure, but I don't think so.
It is. Maybe is Feel really not just mono water? Am I crazy? Am I wrong? Am I like?
I'm going to need an answer here, guys. I
It's
need
an
an answer.
identity crisis.
I needed the answer.
right now.
What's your answer?
Feel? Question mark.
Are you going with
guess.
Spheal? Are you Spheal or Seal? I can't hear.
I think he
With a
said the ball
PH?
one.
I think we're going with the pH because I think.
Oh,
we're
the
saying
pH.
Actually,
All
water.
right. Unfortunately, Spheal is incorrect. The answer is Seal, and I put the wrong person this is from. It's not
Dang,
Leonard. it's
okay, I
from,
wasn't crazy.
Stellar
Okay,
Soul.
I am mono ice water. Okay.
I have no clue.
All
I didn't know
right.
Seal had Ice Body, so.
Yeah, your next question is going to be from Just Ben, and this is your Pokedex entry question. Its Pokemon Violet entry reads, thanks to the special membranes covering its eyes, it can see its surroundings clearly, even in the middle of the night. Who's that Pokemon?
So I was thinking it was a snake until it could still be a snake.
Membranes.
Or a reptile of some sort.
Yeah.
I think I forgot to write
going
this down.
like a Salandit, but I don't know. My
Technically,
my
a-
first gut said Salandit.
Technically a reptile, so I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking a snake, I was waiting for him to say in sandstorms and it to be Silicobra. But he did not say in sandstorms, so I don't think it's Silicobra.
I don't. Oh yeah, Silly Cobra is in Gen 9. Dar.
I'm so sorry.
It could be. It could still be Silly Cobra.
It could still be Silicobra. Like I said, it sounds snaky with the membranes over the eyes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or reptilian.
Yeah, it's definitely something there. Let's go Silly Cobra. That sounds fun.
You're going Silly Cobra. One sec. Silly Cobra is unfortunately incorrect. Your next entry is going to come to you from Pokemon Ultra Moon. And it reads, it buries some of its prey in the sand to use as an emergency meal meals when it hunts, when its hunts are unsuccessful. It buries some of its prey in the sand to use as emergency meals when its hunts are unsuccessful.
So I immediately think Sandile because once again, reptile, sand. But
Yeah.
I
mean that's that. It's.
I assume it's in Usum. I know it's in Violet.
Yeah.
Reptile.
I think
sand.
you're. I think you're right. It's probably Sandile line more than the Salandit. I feel like Salandit's probably something else, but Yeah, I say that sounds.
Being in the desert makes me go Sandile over Salandit.
Mm-hmm. Both work.
Or Croco Rock.
I think
it could be Croco Rock, but
What are we going with? Are we going with Sandile?
yeah, Sandile's fine.
I'm going to give it to, actually, this is wrong. I don't know why I wrote this down. The answer is actually Croco Rock. I wrote down Mudstone,
Okay.
and I don't know why. And so
It's a ground type.
it is Croco Rock. The answer is Croco Rock.
Yeah, it's like I could see it being Croco Rock.
The answer is Croco Rock. I'll give you the point.
It's still it's a reptile in the desert. We got there.
Man, I've horribly
Yep.
messed this up on screen. Sorry for those of you watching the video version on Patreon.
Obviously, it wasn't crocodile because those sport like sunglasses.
I believe there are 4 answers to this next question. I'm going to give you 3 points for the first 3 answers. The fourth answer, I guess you get a pat on the back. This is from Deacon Cheese on the Discord server. Which types do not have a Pokemon that evolved through trade? Counting the types of the pre-evolution only. What
Interesting.
types
Pre,
do
not
have a-
post.
not post, pre.
It. Yeah, pre.
All right. So let's think.
If you're pre, not
It's
post,
not
that
fairy.
probably means dragon is one. Because
So-
the main
You have to lock
trade
these in. You got
dragon
3
is-
strikes. You have 3 strikes. So you do have to lock these in.
So something I'm thinking is there a steel type? Because most of them evolve with a steel coat that adds steel to them, right?
Yeah.
So is there a steel type that evolves through trade?
Not as a pre, because you're
Because
trade up-
pre doesn't count, or pre is what we're looking for, and like Onyx gets steel, Scyther gets steel. So is there a steel type?
Escavalier gets steel.
Yup,
Yeah,
but there isn't anything that starts steel.
I don't think there's anything start steel. I think steel and dragon are my first guts right now.
Are you going to lock those in?
Sure.
Steel and Dragon are both correct. That is 2 for 4. I need 1 more, and then you get all 3.
Ooh.
It's dark is possible if you're thinking about newer things. I'm trying to think. What else? Because it's not water, it's not fire, it's not electric,
rock,
it's not
ground,
rock, it's not ground,
fighting.
It's fighting, fairy, bug.
Ice type? Is there an ice type trade evolution?
So I'm trying to think right now. What do you trade? It's definitely not a Gen 1 trade. Oh, Ghost and Poison. There's 2 more types.
Oh, Gengar, yeah.
I'm
Barry
gonna
is
need
out.
an answer here, guys. I'm going to need an answer.
Yeah. I'm fine throwing out ice right now because I'm blanking on thinking anything else at the second.
I think I'm okay with trying ice too.
Yeah. I mean, we almost narrowed it down to if we
We get a couple mistakes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Ice.
Ice is correct.
All right. Is dark?
So that's 3. So the one, dark is the other one. Dark is the other one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So our final question is going to be your base deck question, as always. And that is going to come to you from Zenith Substrika. What Pokemon with Intimidate have the highest base defense?
There are so many random
that's a
Pokemon
good
that have
one.
Intimidate, though.
Well,
And most of them don't see play because Incineroar is better than them.
Yeah, that's true.
Incineroar, Crocodile, Landorus, Therian,
It's not Granbull.
No.
Granbull, Staraptor.
Not Staraptor. We have a hint we can use, too, because we got something.
You do have the
wrong,
hint.
right?
You've got everything.
Oh, right. Hint. Hinty.
No, you haven't got
hinty.
anything wrong. You haven't got anything wrong.
We got the
No, we got Steel
the
wrong.
Steel.
Oh, you did get Steel
we got
wrong.
this-
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a
Because
dual
you
type
made me doubt
Pokemon.
my
This is a dual type Pokemon, and one of the types is dark.
Okay, we're back on the Crocodile train.
I don't think Crocodile's higher than Incineroar.
Oh, right. Crocodile and Incineroar. I think
There's got to be another dark type with Intimidate, though, right? That's kind of their thing.
they're the big and scary. I keep.
Was there
thinking
any
of other
Mega
types.
Evolution that got it? No,
That would be Mega Medectric.
not that. That is not bulky.
That is not dark, not dual type, not defensive.
That is very far. Obviously, we still have Luxray in the running.
Rest in peace.
I need an answer here, guys. I'm going to need an answer.
Oh, gee, we missing? Oh man, we gotta be missing something. Who am I? If it would be something, it would have to be an OU, and I just can't think of anything else except we can go.
I can tell you, this Pokemon is not an OU.
Oof. There's not any legends with it, right?
No, there's not. I mean, the Dark Legends.
I'm gonna need an answer here. I need an answer. You guys are what is it? You're 3, 4. You're 5. You're 5 points. That's respectable. I'll accept that.
Like I said, I think Incineroar is higher than Crocodile, but I feel like there's a
between. It's literally.
Oh, is it Scrafty?
Oh my gosh, it's Scrafty. Oh my gosh, you
like that thing's all defense, right?
It's Scrafty 1,000%. That's actually.
It's got like 115 defense or something.
Are you going with Scrafty?
There we go.
Are you going with Scrafty?
Yes, please. It's better than Incineroar, I think.
Oh my god.
Scrafty is correct. The answer is Scrafty with 115. Next is Paldean Tauros with 105. Then Kanto Tauros and Hitmontop and Overquill with 95.
Ooh, Overquill would have been a rough one.
You guys
wouldn't have gotten there.
Overquill is in fact a Pokemon.
With Intimidate.
It's a great one. Oh, I love it. It's a great one for like draft league.
It is in fact a Pokemon.
Perfect role filler.
So that's 6 points for you guys. That does change things up in terms of our standings. So we're gonna go ahead here. We're gonna sort. All right, in first place, we've got Sigma with 27 points. In second place, Seth Viola with 23. In third, Jushira with 18. Sublime is in fourth with 15. Claude 9 in fifth with 14. Shark, you're in sixth with 12. Seventh, we have Linian with 8. In eighth, we've got Whimsicott with 6. And in ninth, we've got Bocephus with 5. And Dr. Shamu has yet to get on the board. With that, guys, we're going to go ahead and we're going to kick it on over to our topic. Hey, Thatch here. A lot of you have been asking how you can hang out with us during the week. Well, the best way to do so is come to our Discord server at pucklediscord.com. You can join our server and you can hang out with us, talk Pokemon, battle, do a bunch of cool things, join in our tournaments. So what's stopping you? Come on over, pucklediscord.com. You can jump right on in and have a good time talking with the hosts of the show, as well as the large community we've gathered over the years. So come on, let's hang out. Welcome to the topic. Our topic today is going to be, what is competitive Pokemon? And by that, it's more of like a look at how competitive Pokemon has changed. This has mostly come up because in the community, we've been doing our OU challenge, and we've noticed that things are different than they used to be in terms of the Pokemon community. I think we can all say that. Like, all of us have been around for a while. Like, the three of us have been around for a while in terms of the competitive Pokemon community, right? I think we've all played OU, we've all played VGC, we've all done something different at some point. And I'm kind of curious about how our perspectives on it are. I have definitely noticed a shift, and I actually think that the Pokemon community has seen that shift as well, based on some of the data that we actually have. And so we do have some cool things. So first of all, there's this like really cool chart Sigma brought up to us earlier, where OU overused the tier on Smogon on Pokemon Showdown. Used to have so many more battles compared to VGC, and nowadays that doesn't seem to be the case. There's been a drastic shift, especially as of late in like 2022. But of course, actually, there's a huge shift like once Sword and Shield came out, and I think that's for a number of reasons, which is horrible to say. Like, I don't want this to turn into a Dexit conversation, obviously, because I think that just gets like really repetitive and not exciting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I think the Dexit conversation is boring. I do think Dexit somewhat played a role, but a lot of more things happened. One, something that we've talked about on this show before, and instead of Dexit is like Timergate, I think is what they called it at the time.
Yeah, the timer did more damage than Dexit, I think.
Yeah.
I think timer was so. I remember actually talking to Whimsicott at the time. I remember I was still very upset by Dexit, and I remember Whimsicott coming to me because she wasn't upset about Dexit because she understood at the time like the point of being like, yeah, it's just not sustainable to have every Pokemon in the game, which is a somewhat valid criticism, I think. But I still in the back of my mind go, yeah, but what's like 200 more when you already have 700, right?
Yeah.
Like what's another 200? So I have that argument in the back of my head, but when we found out about timer being an issue in Sword and Shield, for reference, what we're talking about is when you used to play on 3DS, the time that you were allowed to play against an opponent in single battles online was 60 minutes, and afterwards it got shrunk to 20. There are some like weird workarounds you can do in Scarlet and Violet where you can set up a tournament and you can extend that clock to 30 minutes. But 30 minutes is a little rough.
Oh, it's actually I think it was it may have been Sword and Shield. You might have been able to get a little longer, but it's Scarlet Violet with the tournament now. It's 60. You can get 60 minutes with 20-minute timers for individual. Yeah, that's brought. Yeah, because I've just seen it with Draft League. Yeah,
that's almost that we've almost fixed it. We're like 30% there. You know, just make it normal.
Oh yeah, if you were playing like one and you can like just tweak the date time on your Switch so that literally it does take us like maybe like 10 minutes to set up, but you can be able to set up a match where you can play an opponent, like whoever you want for like a good long hours.
Yeah. The problem is like, that's just an unnecessary hurdle.
It is. It slashes accessibility. Like I will say,
I think that is a big issue, right? Like that's definitely what's driven people away from singles on cart. And I mean, this follows up my theory. Like when I was playing a lot of Overused on Showdown and I was playing a lot of Overused in general, a lot of that came back to the ability to play it on cartridge.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that OU on Showdown, Showdown's not satisfying. Showdown's a Pokemon Showdown, the application where you can simulate Pokemon battles.
It's just a simulator.
It's a simulator, and honestly, it's a tool to either learn the game or try to test things out. I do not like it.
Yeah, test your team.
Yeah, I do not like it as like the end product, right? Like the goal of Pokemon Showdown in my mind is to be able to play it better on cartridge.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of other people based on this data feel the same way.
Yeah.
Where the goal of Pokemon Showdown is to play it better on cartridge. And without the ability to play it on cartridge, it's not nearly as exciting.
I kind of agree with that. I will say back in like the early Puckle days where I was around for, I believe, for Sun and Moon, most of my games were like around the 20-minute mark, right? 20 to 30 minutes is about how long it was going to take on cart because of all the animation. Like it was going to be 30 turns about.
Oh, it's about I think 20 was like a fast match for me because I did a lot of matches on stream back then. 20 minutes would be a fast match. If I was playing a good player.
I was going to say, if I played against Seth or Rotted, it was going to take about 50 minutes, but.
Yes. Yeah. If you play against a stall player, right?
Most people are around the 30-minute mark. 30
minutes was cutting it close for a lot of matches that I played on stream. Like if it was against a good player, like I said, if I was playing against a good player and not just like, hey, I'm going to beat you with my legendaries kid on stream on Twitch, I would probably take about 35 to 40 minutes. So like 35 to 40 minutes. Like if they gave me a 45-minute timer, I would be like, okay, OU is possible. I can make this work.
Yeah, it's acceptable outside of stall.
I just have to ban Seth. Like that's all I have to do. I have to ban Seth. And I do have a question though. Like I want to pivot away a little bit from like the timer conversation, right? Which was obviously an issue. So the question I have is, so there's bigger changes that happened in Overused in the single battle system. Because unlike VGC, which is like a TPCI run meta, right? Like the Pokemon Company officially runs the TPCI meta where they determine, oh, hey, this Pokemon is allowed. This type of time limit is allowed.
Petarant is banned.
I find that like the moderation of Overuse, specifically in Generation 8 in Sword and Shield, was a little wild. And I know both of you were probably more plugged in than I was at the time, because
banning Dynamax felt really weird.
Yes.
It's not just that, but like I also as a fan I was already out due to timer, right? Like the inability to play in cartridge, which I do still think is a big impact, because that's kind of why you see this drop off like right after Sword and Shield came out. I don't think National Dex is as much of an issue, but I do think the way that OU was handled, and that's partially because of the way that Sword and Shield handled releasing new Pokemon as well, just wasn't done well. Like, I feel like there's more bans more regularly, and the meta shifts a lot more regularly in OU now than it did in the past. And I do think part of that is due to a little bit of the National Dex shakeup, right? Certain Pokemon that were always good have changed, and specifically in Scarlet and Violet, it's even worse, if that makes sense. In Scarlet and Violet, you have a lot of Pokemon losing moves that they hadn't lost before.
Like the Toxic, for instance.
Like Toxic not being on a lot of Pokemon. And then you also lose... What's the Pokemon? I was just talking about this with somebody. Like Rotom Wash. A Pokemon that's been a staple in the overused tier and in Pokemon in general for a very long time. It very quickly earned access to Defog in Generation 7, where it could use Defog to clear hazards like Stealth Rock and Spikes, which are usually annoying and a very big part of competitive Pokemon, and especially in singles, where switching is like happening all the time. I find that, so Rotom has lost Defog as of Generation 9, and therefore is a lot different. So I feel like a lot of people were playing OU up until Generation 7 based on like knowledge of Pokemon, right? Like this Pokemon has historically been a good Pokemon. Now I move into the next generation, this Pokemon should still be a good Pokemon, but that's no longer the case as soon as you move into Generation 9.
I mean, Generation 8 and 9 have also had tons of power creep.
Oh, of course. Yeah, but I was just kind of trying to...
Like, the Pokemon they're releasing are just stupidly strong compared to what we used to have.
Yeah, I was trying to get like Shark specifically, like, because I know Shark's very much into this community, into this meta. His opinion on this. So do you have thoughts on that, Shark?
Trying to think, yeah, because I know, like, when you're talking about the Rotom, like, it also, one of the things I liked using about Rotom specifically was like Pain Split, because it was like a good bulky defender, and for a while it didn't get it. It only got like it got it and lost it and got it and lost it kind of thing, because it came in like later on through a later TM through the what's it call it, the
one of the DLCs.
It was the second DLC that it got. Pain Split came back as a TM. I'm blanking on that name right now. Indigo Disc. There you go. Brain's working now. But yeah, but it is just very interesting to see how this game has evolved over time. And definitely power creep is big thing. But I mean, despite...
Yeah, I know you've played in the tiers like more often than I have, because you've done more draft leagues and stuff like that recently. And so I was just kind of curious, like, I don't know, like, what is your feeling on this? Like, why do you think that there's been this drop off towards VGC? Like, VGC is very fun, granted. I don't want to discount that. And I think the popularity of VGC has also creeped up, which is why the difference between OU and VGC has gone down. Not just has OU gone down, but VGC has probably gone up. So that's probably why the difference here in this graph that has been on screen for like the past 10 minutes shows. But I'm just kind of curious if you've noticed anything in like the OU tier. Like VGC is a lot of fun. So I do want to hit on that here in a little bit, but
I wonder if part of it is because it's so much easier for people to video capture a Switch compared to a DS. So it's a lot more accessible for people to make content. And if people are able to
not only that,
access to content means more popularity, I think.
Also, easier content for Pokemon. That has drastically changed, I would say, starting in Gen 8. Because Gen 6 and 7 was probably like kind of your peak DS era of like 3DS, and you had those. It was still very hard to get a lot of competitive Pokemon. But you basically had to use PK Hex.
Well, once we got Mints in Sun and Moon, it got a lot better. And then they got rid of...
We didn't get... Mints weren't in Sun and Moon.
Or not Mints. Mints were what we were missing. Bottle Caps. Bottle Caps was a big thing in Gen 7. X and Y was great because there were like 3 Pokemon that you needed to reset for, and they were only okay. Like Zapdos was solid, but not necessary. And Moltres was fine, but you could make teams with only breeding, and they had adjusted breeding to make it accessible for everyone. And you could trade breed checks to other people. Like accessibility went relatively high in X and Y. Like that's when I first started getting into competitive Pokemon VGC, is because I would watch, what's his name? I forget his name. He was a long-haired streamer early on.
That doesn't help me.
That's a lot of the Pokemon community, it sounds like. But I mean,
no, I mean VGC has obviously gained popularity over the years. Like I mean you just look at we talk.
I think Wolf winning Worlds in 2016 was like the start of this renaissance, though.
Maybe to some extent,
because after that, like we still talk about that almost a decade later, and nobody talks about any world championship since then or any world finals since then, and it's weird. But
I do agree with that, because like his Worlds win wasn't exactly like spectacular. The meta was also really garbage. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It was not great. The primals were rough, but
yeah, I just think
VGC is like all. But go ahead, Shark. I want you to talk, not me.
Yeah. I'm just going to go back into just the accessibility. It just with Gen 9, I think for sure, Gen 9, I just feel like it is so easy to get a competitive Pokemon. You can literally, most of the time, you can just be able to catch like the bulk of it on the Switch. Most of the time, just go in Scarlet Violet, go run around, grab it. You already have a ton of the items already, or if not, you just do Terra battles, which is a fairly fast way to get, the money or the resources, the protein or mints or whatever real quick. And you're just able to get a Pokemon like that. Because I've done that before. It's like, I'll not play the game for a while. It's like, ooh, cool Terra event. Let me go get a Pokemon to counter it. I was like, oh, I need to get it. Oh, do I have all the stuff? It's like, oh, let me just grind a raid in real quick. I was like, oh, now I have all the...
No, the accessibility on cartridge is like great for Pokemon. And I think I like it's kind of a bummer that like OU isn't possible on cart because of it. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, unless you're making a Trick Room team, you can just go out and catch a random Pokemon and you're probably set to go. You can work with that Pokemon and make it up to stuff.
I do think part of it is due to like the popularity of VGC, and I mean we talk a lot about player numbers at regionals in terms of TCG because that's something that like I've been into lately. But we definitely disregard like the numbers that have been shown up for VGC, because VGC regionals have like been blowing themselves out of the water. I like when I played VGC,
they're like a quarter of what you get for TCG, but they're still selling out.
It's more than a quarter, actually. Like, it's insane. Well, maybe it's like a third, but like
I was gonna say, like TCG is hitting like 2 to 3. It's like a little over 2,000, and then VGC is hitting like 600 to 800, I think, per event for Masters.
They've hit 900, I think, recently. It's kind of nuts. Like the VGC numbers are like really big, because just for comparison, like the running joke we've had on the podcast for years, because I went to that one Pokemon regional back in 2018 where I played VGC and I got 15th place, just like Ash Ketchum. I'm a regular Ash Ketchum, guys. Where I went and I did that in Collinsville in 2018, the regional, I mean, it was also like the end of a meta. So like a lot of people didn't play. So the numbers were a little bit lower than usual, but the number of players that showed up for TCG at the time, or for VGC at the time, were just under 200. I think we had like 193 players.
That's what I remember in the DS era. Yeah.
It was just like under like what we needed for like a top 16.
I think for nationals you got like just under 400.
And for comparison back then, that tournament also had something like 1,000 TCG players, right?
TCG exploded too. Like
well, you have 1,000 TCG players, 200 VGC players, and now we're at 2,000 TCG players, a factor of 2, but we're at like 800 to 900 VGC players, which is a much higher growth rate if you actually look at it. The number's definitely smaller.
Yeah, because it's so much more accessible and there's a lot of content out there. Streamers are out there.
Exactly. And so it's kind of nuts to think about. in terms of just how much. Also, like a really interesting thing to bring up, and this is like super technical, nitty gritty, that I don't think anybody listening to the show probably cares about. But like we talk about VGC overtaking OU on Showdown in terms of like number of battles, right? But we do have to, I think like this is like a Pokemon Showdown thing, right? Not only do we have to consider like OU shrink a little bit probably due to, Dexit or whatever, or the numerous factors we've brought up during the show. But I think there's also the growth of VGC on Showdown, specifically where we're measuring these numbers. Showdown also has become much more accommodating to VGC players. In that, like, if I were to practice VGC in 2018, like I was, very heavily, I could only play best of ones. If you go to play VGC at a regional, you're going to play a best of 3. So eventually, like very recently, in the past couple of years, Showdown has implemented a best of 3 ladder as well for VGC. And so actually, if you don't count in the number of best of 3, OU is still actually beating VGC, not by the margin it was in like 2016 or 2018, but it's still beating it. So I think it's very interesting. And I mean, if you
like, it's very nice for VGC tournament players, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it also enables open team sheet, which is not something you get on card.
It's pretty intense. Like VGC is being taken much more seriously than it was, I think, back in like 2016. Like VGC used to feel like a very fringe part of the community. Back in.
It did, and then they marketed it better. They air regionals like half the weekends in a month usually. Like usually you're gonna get 2 or 3 regionals, and they'll have coverage for it.
I agree with that. I do think that.
And I think also having the content creators being like tournament players being content creators and also being, marketed by Pokemon, I think brings a whole lot of visibility with it as well.
Yes. So
people like Cybertron, super like Wolfie.
I guess my question now, in terms of this discussion, because we're talking about like what is competitive, and I think VGC has very much solidified itself as like a very major player in the space, which I don't disagree with. I think doubles honestly is much more finesse than OU. Like as somebody who's played both and has been good at both in the past,
there's a lot more to talk about if you're like a commentator, right?
Yeah, I think. Well, so in VGC you have a lot more possible moves, right? There's more options available to you. It's also much faster. It's easier to get in games. And honestly, as like somebody who isn't big into playing like something like League of Legends, but is into playing something like Pokemon Unite, that's very attractive. Playing shorter matches. I do believe that playing something like OU, which can take, like we were talking about earlier, up to 50 minutes if you're playing a stall player. Thanks, Seth. He's not going to listen to this, but I want to keep ripping on him. I think that is important to bring up as well. Like that's a significant factor. So if you make it easier to play that type of game, more people are going to play it. I don't know, like OU, the meta changes a lot. It's I don't know, it doesn't feel as good as it used to. Definitely Pokemon designs are taking VGC into consideration over OU, right? Which is
for better and for worse.
For better and for worse. Like I think of like Pokemon like Urshifu, right? Urshifu was like a terror in OU.
I mean,
when it came
that
out.
Thing's a terror in VGC too. I hate that thing.
To an extent.
I look forward to next gen where we remove that thing for at least a while. I hate that.
Urshifu is a Pokemon that exists specifically to fill a niche in VGC, which is no longer needed, but especially with Terra.
That thing is busted. Get that thing out of here. Of all the Pokemon I want them to remove, it's that thing and Calyrex. Just get those two out of here. And like, I want to see where the meta goes because those two things are ugh.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I would like to what are your opinions on what might it take for OU to have a resurgence, like a renaissance, kind of like VGC has had in its growth? Like, what do you think it would take for OU to have that kind of growth? Like, I personally myself, I think that we should probably just make it accessible on cartridge again. But I don't think Pokemon cares, right?
That's going to be the biggest, I think, number one thing, because that for sure is like the number one. Yeah. No, you're good. I think that for sure, first of all, is making that timer accessible so that more people can make content in singles on cart, because I know that's where a lot of the Smogon roots was. Smogon started a lot just being a hub, to be able to connect and play through your DS on, BDS or Diamond, Pearl, Platinum era. That was the first time you could connect online in a Pokemon game, and people wanted to play against each other, and some people wanted to that Smogon was formed because of that, so that you could be able to play each other and compete.
Yeah, they wanted rules to better make it fair.
I agree with that.
Like in Gen 1, everyone knows it's like, yeah, you don't use Mewtwo. Mewtwo's not. Mewtwo is in fact broken. It's unfortunate that these days, like, all of things are broken. And it's weird because in Battle Stadium singles, do you know what the top Pokemon is right now? I think it's actually Dragonite.
I believe that because Dragonite's fun.
I believe it's Dragonite. But like, they don't ban Qianpao. They don't ban...
Pikalytics says it's Fluttermane, I think, is the number one. It's according to Pikalytics for Regulation G, it's Fluttermane, Qianpao, Urshifu Rapid, Ogerpon.
Oh, it is, yes. Yep, I got it up.
Ogerpon Fire with an asterisk, because it just says Ogerpon and it doesn't differentiate between forms. So I'm just going to say Fire is the one that's used the most.
But Dragonite is still very good in this, despite...
Oh, yeah. Dragonite over Miraidon and Koraidon is just nuts, honestly.
Yeah, it's above Landorus, Calyrex. It's a very good Pokemon. Urshifu's up there. No, Koraidon's good in singles. In doubles, it's less good, but it's still okay. It's seeing a resurgence right now. No, in singles, it's very good. It's very broken when you don't have to worry about the other team as much. When it KOs the thing in front of it and doesn't get hit by its partner, it does really well for itself.
It's just that Miraidon is just also, it is overshadowed by Miraidon because Miraidon it's just stupid. Koraidon is strong. Miraidon is stupid.
Yeah, in doubles, Koraidon has to hold the thing that blocks Intimidate, the Clear Amulet.
Okay.
So it can't run like a Choice Band, or else it gets intimidated by the Incineroar. Whereas in singles, you go with the loaded dice, I think, most of the time, because you can click Scale Shot and get a speed boost and probably get rid of something. But that's beside.
I want to take us back to the conversation about like competitive. But so is it just that we want the timer to be fixed and then we think all will be good?
But that's half.
Well, I think we need like more. I think part of the issue is like the lack of singles balance in the Pokemon that come out too, though, to a slight extent, because they are for doubles.
I think that's a huge issue lately.
Yeah, it's also just the balancing the game. It's figuring out what a balanced meta game is, because Overused is a fan driven. What is fair and balanced is subjective. Certain Pokemon like are fine, but within reason, but then others is like, what is broken? What is not? Does Urshifu need to be banned? Does Kyurem need to be banned?
Is Darkrai fine? Is Zamazenta fine?
Does Great Tusk need to be banned because it takes 40% of the meta? Does that, just because it's used on every team, does it need to be, that's the kind of thing is like, what makes broken and what isn't, It just needs to, it would definitely would kind of want some Pokemon involved, like TPCI, like involvement, at least setting something up as a baseline. Like what I guess that would be what BSS would be. Just make it a 6v6 format or allow a 6v6 with that regulation and then maybe see. But yeah, it's just trying to find that balance in singles, which is hard.
I do feel like there has been a drop in competitive Pokemon players in terms of OU compared to what it was years ago. And part of that is Dexit. Part of that is it's not fun to play on cart. Part of that is the rise in VGC. A lot of people moving to that. And so I kind of feel like OU, I don't want to say it's been neglected because the player base is still very large.
Yeah, there's still people playing.
I do feel like to some extent, I mean, partially I would call myself one of the old guard, right? Like I was very much an OU from Gens 4 all the way through Gen 7.
I mean, I remember Shoddy Battle.
I remember Shoddy Battle.
Oh my gosh.
I remember Shoddy.
That's a name I've not heard in years.
And so I do wonder if the meta itself has just been, I don't want to say mismanaged, because I think that's a disservice to the people who have been playing.
No, I think it's just rough to manage with just how strong the threats are. Right?
I do think it is rough to manage. I do think that is true. I think it is difficult to manage. I just wish that there were more people to help manage it, if that makes sense. And maybe more voices to be heard to like help manage the issues that are coming about. Because at the end of the day, like the bans really come down to the votes of like 100 players overall when you've got thousands of battles occurring. I don't know. I do wish that, maybe not wish, but I do hope that we could see a resurgence where maybe like it's more than 100 players like making those decisions about what should be banned and what shouldn't be banned, because maybe those 100 players have a very specific way they like to play the game. I don't know. Like this is a very millennial, like looking at passing on things to like Gen Z vision is like, I'm passing this torch on to somebody else and I'm not quite vibing with the way they want to play it. So maybe the Gen Z people are right and they know what they want, or the next generation Pokemon OU people are, and they know exactly what they want. It's not exactly something I vibe with or something that I'm super excited about, but maybe they are. I don't know. It's a complicated question, and I don't want to get too into it. But yeah, I don't know. This has been a fun conversation. I don't know what question to come of this for like the fans.
It's like, how do you enjoy playing?
Yeah. How do you play competitive Pokemon if you do? Maybe you don't even play the video game, right? Like maybe you're not playing OU or VGC, but maybe you're playing like a competitive Nuzlocke of some sort, or maybe you're playing TCG instead in a different fashion. Or maybe you have an interesting way to play the mainline Pokemon games that don't include other people, but it's competitive for yourself. We'd love to know. So please let us know at pucklepodcast@gmail.com. I think I'm going to wrap up the discussion here just because I don't want to go too much into circles.
Mm-hmm.
With that, guys, we're going to kick it on over to our Puckle's Pokey Opinion. So let's catch you on the flip-flop.
Episode.
Welcome to Puckle's Pokey Opinion. We are going to go ahead and we're going to talk about a prompt here. And our prompt today is going to be, what Pokemon do you think would be great for lawn work? Maybe not just lawn work, but like landscaping. Like obviously we're talking grass types maybe, right? Like, or maybe not. Like
So-
my answer would probably be something like Scizor, because it would be really
Okay,
good mowing
I
the
see
lawn.
it.
It would mow the lawn. Like Rotom, like let's kick out Rotom.
Okay, so
Get rid of
we're-
that.
I was going to say, my
You
first
got
thought
the
is
elephant in the
Rotom.
room. You left a big
Let's
elephant
kick out
there.
Rotom. Rotom, like you're just taking a lawn.
I feel like Rotom is
come on.
banned from all of these answers because it was kind of broken last week too, wasn't it?
It was a little bit, yeah. I did not like
Rotom
it.
is banned.
Rotom is banned.
Banned.
I think
It's like
the
the
idea
Arceus on our stats questions. You ignore Arceus for
yeah.
those. You ignore
It's
Rotom for these.
it's the Eternamax
Rotom
of
is-
the stat questions, you know.
I think Scissor would be great though, because it could cut the grass like it with scissors, but it's going to do it with precision, right?
I mean,
and
would
at the
you
same time, it could trim the hedges. It could trim the hedges at the same time. I think that would be
But
great.
I'm going to counter argument here. Why not? I mean, I would think you'd rather have something that's a little bit more powerful in terms
Okay.
of just being able to cut down lawn things than Scizor. Why not just use Cleavor? Because that'll trim your trees pretty well here.
I mean, that's forestry.
that'll chop off those overhanging branches.
I think Cleavor is more for the bulk work, and I think Scizor is for the precision work. Which in terms of my house, I don't need to chop down a lot of trees. I would just say Scizor can do the precision work, cut down, like trim the hedges, cut the grass. It would probably be fantastic at it. Cleavor, on the other hand, yeah, sure, it can cut a tree down, but it's not gonna help me with my bushes, okay? Not well, at least.
I kind of need Cleavor at the moment myself. I've got a few overhanging trees I need a little trim on. So that's why I got that on my brain.
There's no chainsaw Pokemon yet, is there? So we need that. Where's the chainsaw dog Pokemon? You know, I mean, I think
So-
both these are great. I think both these are great, but I think Cleavor is great for like, I don't know, maybe more like certainly larger projects.
Mhm.
Certainly larger projects.
So my first thought obviously was Rotom, but my second thought
Throw that out.
is
Yeah.
Go-Goat.
Why
Go-Goat.
Go-Go? Why Go-Go?
Because it loves the grassy terrain, right? So obviously it's going to be able to work. Like, it's the only Pokemon with grassy pelt, right?
What is grassy pelt? What does that ability do? One sec. I got
It gives it a 50% boost in defense in grassy terrain or on grass.
Okay, but that's like a defense boost. That's not the same. Like,
Yeah, but it's eating the grass. It's a sap sipper too.
who else? They are the only two Pokemon with this in this hidden ability. This is such a crap ability. Sap Sipper is so much
It's really
better.
bad.
Oh my gosh.
It's really bad.
Sap Sipper is so much better.
You're so right though with Go-Go because it can't. First of all, it can learn Grassy Surge in general, so it's going to help fertilize the ground, and then it could mow over the overgrowth. So it's going to have a nice.
Yeah, it's going to just make things
Yeah.
work.
Perfect. It can't overeat like normal goats do.
It's also a goat, so like it will just eat your grass and like make it shorter. So,
but it'll also make it taller. It's going to be the perfect balance.
Yeah, it can make it
I've been
bigger.
thinking about getting like one of those lawnmowers, the electric lawnmowers that are like Roombas for your yard. And so like what I've heard that from the knowledge of this old house, is that cutting your grass like once every 2 days is actually healthier for your yard. And I still think a goat is like the proper answer. Like Go-Goat's the proper answer because you only want to take like a little bit off the grass, right? And I believe having a goat would just do that all the time. Like they're just going to be eaten.
Yeah, it's
Right.
just going to be consistently doing that.
Yeah. It's just going to be consistent. Like Go-Goat is a good answer. Like I'm not going to argue against Go-Goat, right?
And you can ride it, right?
It does pretend to be a
A
motorcycle.
riding lawnmower. Look at that.
It's very slow.
Do we remember how disappointing riding Go-Goat was in
It is an
X&Y?
incredibly slow mode of transportation. Skiddo is very
I think
fast.
it was faster in that one spot you could just randomly ride
That's Skiddo.
in.
That's riding Skiddo.
Oh, that was Skiddo.
That's Skiddo.
Oh, that was just
That's Skiddo.
Oh,
Skiddo is
Yeah.
incredibly
Skiddo.
fast, yes. You are
Skiddo is
correct.
great. Like X and Y like demoed the idea of ride Pokemon, and then Sun and Moon obviously like gave us the perfected version of
Went
it.
with it
Yeah.
for HMs, which is good.
Yeah, it perfected it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot of.
but no, Go-Goat's a good answer. Like I can't fight you on Go-Goat. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
And it can knock squirrels out of trees by headbutting them, I'm sure.
okay, I don't care
Yeah.
about that. Like that's a
I think
mechanic
it's the
that never
be-
came
I
back.
think- All right. Well, I definitely think of the ones that are just general lawn keep, we think we're set there. But what about gardening itself? Because Go-Go ain't gonna do your gardens. It ain't gonna.
I feel like it's just Roselia, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say
Roselia.
Roselle. Maybe I'd go Roserade just because Roserade's cooler.
I mean, Roserade's cooler, but I think Roselia would be gentler with it. Or Badoo. And it's itchy pollen, you know.
I don't want to think of Badoo as a Pokemon that exists ever. Okay, like
yeah, TCG. What you doing there?
the TCG makes me not want to think about it. Roselia.
TCG Pocket doesn't have Badoo.
I do think that
Don't worry.
Badoo is like a weird Pokemon in general. Like I think Badoo is, I don't know. It's very weird to me that they just sort of like, oh, you know, this single stage Pokemon Roselia. What if we made a pre-evolution and an evolution at the same time? And Badoo's like very, I don't know. It's a boring Pokemon. It's grass poison. Who cares? We have a bajillion of those.
It would be like
It evolves with friendship. Come on, don't give me friendship evolutions. Friendship evolutions are the worst.
I mean, that's all babies, though. Almost.
No. Looking at you, Mag, being an Elekid that evolve at just level 30 and we call it a day.
And Smoochum, but they're
Smoochum,
different.
but nobody cares about
breeds.
Smoochum. Nobody cares about
We don't talk about Smoochum. It didn't get a second evolution. It's out of the crew. I mean,
For
it's
good
better
reason.
than having the move Mimic to evolve.
Yeah, no, it's not. I'd rather have a move. I'm not gonna lie. I'd rather have a move than just like, friendship. I think friendship evolutions are the most frustrating things in the whole world.
You're not
Yeah.
wrong.
They are just the most frustrating
Friendship
mechanic in all of
evolution
Pokemon.
is now feeding berries. That's all it is. It's finding the certain berries that give friendship and just shoving it in its mouth.
It's just the most frustrating part. Like, Badoo is disappointing because of that reason. Let's just go with Roselia to plant the garden, and it's gonna be fine.
I assume Dolliv is essentially the same Pokemon too, but yeah, no, Dolliv is the same Pokemon as Roselia.
Okay, but Smoliv at least has like a cool like move, or a cool like idea. Like, it's small. Badoo is just like a seed.
No, I said
nobody cares.
No, I said Dolliv and Roselia. Smoliv is better than Badoo.
Smoliv is infinitely better than Badoo. Also, Shiny Smoliv is just a black olive, which I am.
It's great. It's just
I'm
great.
Here for.
Yeah,
I'm here for.
Well,
please,
great
more
design.
Smoliv. More Smoliv. Okay. Black olives are superior to green olives. I'm sure we can all agree.
Yeah.
But
who's digging your garden? Who's gonna dig your garden holes to plant the things?
Diglett.
Oh,
nobody else.
Oh, geez, I didn't even think about. I don't know why I didn't think Diglett first.
Drillbur.
Diglett's better. Diglett digs. Okay, Diglett dig. Okay.
Did Diglett get Rototiller?
Then give me a Bunnelby. That's better.
I was thinking
Bunnelby is better.
That's my pick. But Drillbur was in my list. I didn't think Diglett for some strange reason, but that's
because you can't see what's underneath. You can't trust a Diglett.
Oh, you know who does get Rototiller? Doug Trio. Diglett's fine. Everybody loves Diglett. Okay. Also, Tapu Bulu gets it. What? Come on, Tapu Bulu.
I thought they deleted that move anyway, but it's beside the point.
Tapu Bulu fix yourself.
Diggersby.
Watchog. Watchog
eat your plants. Never mind. Don't trust.
Nobody
I
wants
wouldn't
Diggersby.
Trust Watchog or Diggersby. I won't trust them.
I don't trust Watchog for much different reasons. I'm worried that Watchog is always watching.
That's true.
Technically, Drillbur doesn't get it, but Excadrill does, so it's fine. Yeah. You could use Paris.
Yeah.
Paris gets Rototiller.
I don't want to keep going on this, but all right. I think we've come up with some good Pokemon that are good around your housework. Okay.
Who's gonna be your sprinkler? Who's the best sprinkler?
That's a good question. We don't have like a sprinkler Pokemon. We need a sprinkler Pokemon.
Like something that's gonna like water your lawn, especially in the Texas summer.
It needs to be like
soils.
Well, yeah, that's unfortunate for you. You live in the desert. And
yeah, but I'm in that mid climate of like hot and cold and yes and no.
I mean,
are you in the Midwest?
Well, the Dallas area just kind of has that Midwest climate. I would say it doesn't get as cold, but it gets way hotter. So
yeah.
If ever there was a use for Panpour, this might be it.
Yeah, you're right. Panpour is a sprinkler Pokemon.
Wooper Wooper could, but it just has to be the right climate for Wooper. Because you definitely couldn't do it like all year round in Texas, just because it's gonna dry up. It's not gonna be as super.
Wooper wouldn't like that. Wooper wouldn't like that. Don't do that to my boy.
Yeah. Just keep the water stones away from Panpour, though. You don't want the Simipour.
Nobody wants Simipour. Panpour is the answer. Yeah. All right. Well, let us know what Pokemon you would like to help you with your yard work at pucklepodcast@gmail.com. But with that, guys, we are gonna kick it on over to our mailbag. So let's go read some emails.
It's mail time. Send in your emails. Mail.
Welcome to our mailbag. Our mailbag is the part of the show where you can email us at pucklepodcast@gmail.com and let us know what you think of our topic or our Pokemon opinion of the week. We are going to go ahead and get started. But before we do, I would like to remind everybody that this segment of the show is brought to you by our fictional energy drink, Green Tauros, the energy drink that gives you hooves.
Hooves.
And as always, we'll give out the Green Tauros badge to anybody we deem worthy, anybody that sparks conversation. But with that, we're going to get started. Our first email this week is going to be from Timal. He is back with a vengeance. Good day, Puckle. When I think of animals that should be Pokemon, 3 immediately come to mind. I've given these animals a bit of thought around their types, moves, and abilities, and I'd love to hear what you, the Puckle host, think about these as well. I don't know that I've read this all the way through before now, but or maybe I didn't mentally process it. Animal number 1. Animal from the Muppets. We're going to go ahead and switch over to this. This Pokemon would look like an angry red puppet chained to a set of drums. That's just Animal from the Muppets.
I'm glad something else gets drum beating as a move.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
It would constantly go sicko mode and deal damage by beating its drumsticks, hands, and heads on the drum set. The ability would be Drum, which causes sound-based moves to deal extra damage. Its signature move would be Drum, 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 which would be a steel-type sound-based attack. It's in the band Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem. That's just the name of the band in the Muppets. So naturally, it would be a steel and electric type. Okay, I get it. When it fades, you can catch a quick glimpse of the puppeteer's hand. Hidden ability, Fluffy. Animal number 2. The song, Animal, by the American rock band REM. With this Pokemon, we have to look to the lyrics to determine its type. In the chorus, Michael Stipe wails, "I'm an animal." You also hear, "The answer landed on my rooftop. Whoa," indicating a Pokemon that has obviously used the move Bounce. What? So it's definitely a flying type. Also a rock type because of the rock music. This Pokemon has a unique form. It uses a dancing move like Swords Dance or Dragon's Dance, and is also a shiny. It turns into the Happy People form. This Pokemon is at low HP, aka backed into a corner, and another Pokemon uses the move Spotlight on it. It loses its religion. That's a lot of REM references. Animal number 3. The film The Animal, starring Rob Schneider. Oh my gosh, no.
I remember this. Oh no.
This Pokemon comes in 3 forms, with the DVD form being the smallest, VHS form being the bigger and boxier, and Cinema form being the biggest. These form differences have no differences in base stats. A Psychic and Poison type. Psychic because Rob Schneider deals psychic damage to anyone with more than half a brain, and Poison because he's an anti-vaxxer. Oh my gosh, I did not know that. I didn't need to.
Didn't know that. Okay.
He has the ability 30% on Rotten Tomato Berries, which deals 70% of his attacks, which causes 70% of his attacks to miss the target. Rated PG-13. Cheers, Tamal. Okay, well, moving on. Our next email is going to be from Captain Spatch.
Yeah, I got this one.
And I believe you got this one, Sigma.
Hello, Puckle people. Captain Spatch here. Special shout out to Thatch, whose job I am definitely not interested in taking.
That's exactly what somebody who wants to take my job would say.
I finally joined the Discord server in the last month or so, and am really loving the interactions with the community. I've never had more than a couple real-life friends into Pokemon, so it's been great sharing my thoughts and hearing others on their Pokemon experiences. Anywho, on to last week's topic. I have a few suggestions for animals and everyday things that could be made into Pokemon. Number 1, a Scarecrow. Possibilities of type combos are numerous. Dark, Ghost, Grass, Fire.
Oh,
Design-wise.
I like this. Continue.
Design-wise, I would think something a little more sinister almost if Banette, Cacturn, and Sunflora all fused into one.
Has there been a Create a Pokemon project where this happened, or am I misremembering? Probably not.
I don't know. I have no clue. I don't follow CAPs too much.
I think there was may have been a Scarecrow.
I vaguely remember this. I'm probably wrong, though.
Just envision Batman's villain Scarecrow, dumbed down to kids' cartoon form. Maybe even Evolution, where it becomes a headless horseman-esque. Well, that's cool.
Okay.
Pumpkin heads. Number 2 is Marlin or Sailfish. This is the next great steel water type. A fish with a literal sword for a face. Need I say more? Hear me out. Steelworker.
Steelworker. It doesn't
need to have a steel type if you have Steelworker.
Steelworker needs to be on more Pokemon, and more abilities like Steelworker need to exist on more Pokemon.
Didn't you know we got one this gen?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but it's on the stupid Bombardier.
Yes. No, we need more things like that, though. I think that is a very interesting thing to do, and it should happen more often.
Yeah, I have. And number 3 is turkey. Say hello to your next Route 1 bird. The ground.
We already have a turkey. It's Ho-Oh.
Ethan's Ho-Oh. Ground flying because the Pokemon world needs more of those. Is there a not good one?
I don't need a Route 1 bird becoming meta. Okay. There's only 2 of them.
Yeah, Corviknight. Corviknight, get out of here. I know there's Gliscor and there's Landorus.
That's it. That's all there. I mean, unless you want to count Gligar.
So there's no bird that's ground type. There's no bird that's ground type, though. This is what I'm trying to get at.
Also, if you're assuming that turkeys don't fly, as somebody who grew up in the country, you are wrong. Turkeys do fly.
A couple years ago, we had turkeys in this neighborhood, and it was like on top of my neighbor's roof and flew down into the yard to anger the dog.
Yeah, it is terrifying. This is terrifying.
It's terrifying.
That sounds terrifying.
Like it had its children around and was just chilling on top of the roof watching for things.
So my parents live on a farm now, and they just have like a family of turkeys that just like is around the farm all the time, and they raise their young there every year. But 1 year, I watched turkeys. Literally, I kid you not, it was the most surreal thing. I watched a flock of turkeys fly up and land on the power line. That was terrifying.
That sounds terrifying because those are big birds.
And then one day we were driving, and just like a flock of turkeys were like flying across the road, and like we drove through it, and it like cracked our windshield and everything because they're turkeys.
Yeah.
Flying in the air. Yeah. Like it's nuts. Like turkeys are terrifying to watch fly. Like it's insane.
Yeah, my grandparents live out in the countryside. They don't have a farm, but they live between a bunch of them, and occasionally you'll get wild turkeys crossing the road.
Yeah, turkeys are terrifying when they fly. Like, and they can fly actually at like 50 miles an hour, like not slow.
And they're massive, so they got momentum.
Yeah, imagine your Thanksgiving turkey just flying at you at 50 miles an hour. I digress. Electric flying is more like it, right?
All right. If you wanted to go crazy, give it a split evolution where you can evolve it with a Firestone, and it turns into a cooked turkey that is a glass cannon.
Okay, I'm for this now, actually. Okay, I'm so sorry. I even fought you on this.
A not defensive. There we go.
Hope you enjoyed hearing my thoughts on unused Mons, and here's hoping that the Pokemon Company incorporates them into a future game. But let's be honest, we're getting Simazap and Panzap before that. Captain Spatch out.
I hate that I brought it up because I'm willing it into existence. It's just not the mojo I want. All right. Well, our last email is going to come to you from, what's his name? What's he call himself?
Biblically Maccurate.
Biblically Maccurate. That's correct. You are correct on that one, Shark.
Hi, Puckle Team.
All right. Well, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Hi, Puckle Team. Matt here from the UK. Biblically Maccurate on the Discord if we're using full formal names.
Formal.
I'm really in.
That was his birth name. Biblically Maccurate. That was his birth name.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I really enjoyed this topic and the discussion around it. I think my favorite thing about this franchise and other creature raising games is the fantasy zoology aspect and the world building that can be created through its inhabitants. My favorite Pokemon is Sandshrew, of which both forms are perfect designs, and along with its evolution, take inspiration from one of my favorite favorite creatures, the Pangolin. In the same vein, another of my
Okay, I have opinions of that animal, but that's another thing. No, it's okay. It's fine.
In the same vein, another one of my favorite animals is the armadillo. This funky little guy comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes, and I'm frankly astounded we haven't had a standalone Mon away from the Sandshrew family. I couldn't decide to pitch one or several, as different varieties of this creature can lend itself perfectly to different Pokemon. Heck, make it an Oricorio situation and have them change form depending on what kind of dust they take baths in.
Oh.
Here's some concepts he's come up with. The first one, the obvious, Armadillo. Like a 3-banded armadillo, that form can roll up completely in the ball, make it normal steel, really heavy, really fast. Its niche could be weight and speed moves. Wild ones could hold an iron ball to hammer that point home.
Normal steel is cool. I'm into that idea. I don't think we have normal steel yet, right? Like that's one of the unused ones.
I don't know. There's a lot of normal types that we just don't have. It's always confusing to remember.
They like started chucking them in like the past decade.
Yeah, but they're all forgettable. Kind of.
Well, like Pyroar, who cares if it's normal type?
Well, we got our normal poison this gen, and here's another normal poison suggestion. 9-banded armadillos have the right body temperature to keep leprosy bacteria alive, so make it normal poison with acid spray and belching move. Maybe call it Toxillo and have a contact poison ability that melts its prey.
That's a little intense, but yeah, okay.
The screaming hairy armadillo does what it says in the name. Normal dark, perhaps? A thick, tangled coat for protection and a plethora of sound-based moves to deafen its enemies. Armadillos have poor eyesight and hearing, so it works well. Call it Banshilo and tuck some throat spray under its fur. And then finally is the pink fairy armadillo. This one writes itself. Small, pink, normal fairy. Maybe make it have cute charm, contact, infatuation. Who knows? Pixelo has that untapped potential to be a new favorite for people excited everywhere who love small pink creatures.
Well, thank you for that one, biblically accurate, or accurate. There we go. I said it correctly. I want to offer it to Captain Spatch, the Green Tauros badge. I think he had the biggest impact on our conversation. So not biblically accurate. Captain Spatch, you win the badge. If you want to keep up with us through next week, one, you can email us for the mailbag question at pucklepodcast@gmail.com, letting us know how you compete in competitive Pokemon or what Pokemon you want for lawn work. Let us know. pucklepodcast@gmail.com. Of course, you can always follow us on Discord at pucklediscord.com. Sometimes it might give you an error, but please just try changing the front end to HTTPS. There's some issue going on with that link right now. We're going to try to get it sorted out, hopefully, in the near future. Of course, you can always go ahead and follow us over at Discord, or not just Discord, but Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Blue Sky. You can follow us over those. You can always check out our YouTube channel if you haven't already at youtube.com/pucklepodcast. That's, of course, where once these video podcasts go live, that's where it's going to go. You can also go ahead and follow us over at Twitch at twitch.tv/thepucklepodcast, where I stream every Wednesday. We're still doing the X and Y Nuzlocke. We're getting pretty close to the end, though. We're at 6 badges, so like we're in the end stretch.
Yeah, it's starting to pick up now.
The videos are saved on there too if you want to watch the old ones.
They're saved on Twitch, and we got to get them on YouTube, but I kind of want to wait until they're just like all done.
Just so you know, it's there.
It is just there. And then, of course, we have to figure out what we're going to do after the Nuzlocke. I don't know what we're going to do after the Nuzlocke. I haven't decided. If you have ideas, let us know. You can also, of course, go over to our Patreon at patreon.com/pucklepodcast and get access to the video podcast, anything that we try doing. We're going to try doing like a video game corner. I want to try to do that this month, just to see how we can get those kinks ironed out and see if we can make Game Quarter even more fun than it already is. Of course, an audio version would be available as well. Additionally, you can also go ahead and follow us over or support the show by going to trollandtoad.com using code PucklePod5 at checkout to get your cardboard. Hopefully, you can still buy it there. But yeah, it would be great to go buy some Pokemon cards over at trollandtoad at trollandtoad.com and use code PucklePod5 for 5% off. With that, though, guys, I have been Trainer Thatch.
I've been our Sigma.
And I've been Sharkfinnagen.
And here in the Lavender Town Radio Tower, it's closing time.
It's closing time in Lavender Town. Time to say our goodbyes. It's closing time.